Hello, we're back. Now we're on step 4. And as you might remember that in step 3 we talked about the setting at the beginning of the story, the beginning being the first quarter of the project, and now we're going to talk about the middle setting. The middle is an interesting part of the story. It takes up 1/2 of the entire page count or scene count or word count of the project. And part of what happens in the middle is that the character is transported to an exotic world. That exotic world can be in terms of the physical sense or in terms of the internal sense. So what I want you to do is, now that you know the beginning setting for your character and sort of their ordinary world and what life is like before the story takes off, once the end of the beginning happens, and we'll talk about that next time, the character is catapulted into the actual story world itself, and the real story takes off. The energy of the story builds, and there's conflict and there's excitement. So this second setting is critical. In most stories, there is movement in the novel or movie or memoir. Is that the character starts in one location and moves to another, and that's very critical for a story. So I'll give you a couple examples. So last time I talked about Juno and how the beginning is about the kids and who they both are and how they hook up together, the boy and the girl. And then on the 1/4 mark of the page count and the scene count, she tells her boyfriend that she's pregnant. Well, obviously that's a huge life changer. Everything shifts. So the story is no longer in the ordinary world, moving along the way it's always gone. Now there's been an incident that happens that changes everything. As soon as that happens, the characters both are catapulted into the story world, and the new setting is not a difference in location, but it's a difference of circumstance. The exotic world then becomes her pregnancy. That's something completely foreign to her, completely foreign to the boyfriend, to the families involved. And so, although it's not a different physical location, I want you to get the sense that the setting has changed because of the circumstances. In this situation with Hatchet, which we had last time, he starts out on a plane going up to see his father for summer vacation. We've met his friends, his mom, where he lives in his ordinary world, and then we have him reflecting a bit on the plane. And suddenly, at exactly the 1/4 mark of the story, the pilot of this little tiny private plane has a massive heart attack, dies, and crashes the plane. Now I hope you can get the sense, it gives me goosebumps, how dramatic that is and how that shifts from the beginning ordinary world to now the exotic world. This young man who's been brought up just in regular middle class environment, going to school every day, now is on his own in the middle of nowhere, no adults, no help, no food, nothing. The plane actually ends up at the bottom of a lake. All he has is a hatchet that his mother gave to him at the moment that he took off in the plane. So between himself and the hatchet, that's all he has to rely on. So I hope you can see that now the exotic world is truly exotic. He's in the forest with wild animals and scary things, and he's on his own. Then the third one, which I thought would be interesting just to show you the difference about a physical versus non-physical change, is at the 1/4 mark when this scientist who has a stroke, we find out that she has a stroke. What happens from then on is we don't change the physical location, but we change who she is. The setting of her reality has changed because now she has a stroke. She does not have very much capacity. She's struggling to try to survive, to be able to be rescued, and then to be able to see what can be done to bring her back to as much fullness as possible. So although it's not a change in a physical location, well, she goes to the hospital, but then she comes back home again. It's definitely a change in the setting of who she is and what her surroundings are about. So now what I want you to think about is what exotic, unusual world can you send your protagonist into? That once they leave the ordinary world, something happens that changes everything. Then they're catapulted into the story world and a new location. And think for yourself, do you have any experience in some exotic world, some foreign land that, most people might not know about? If you know about, living on a farm and most people don't know about that, or the authentic details of working in a factory or whatever. Think about bringing that into the story, if there's a way to integrate that, because it becomes what you know. You bring the authentic details to it, and it allows the reader to experience a brand new setting, a brand new world. This world opens up to them and they learn something they didn't know before. So again, if you need any extra tips, please feel free to go to the Plot Whisperer blog or to Blockbuster Plots for Writers website. There'll be support materials there for you. So now you have your character, the character goal, the character's flaw, the setting that starts the story, and the setting for the middle of the story. And come back for session 5, and we will then go to the next major element that you need to think about in order to write your screenplay, novel, or memoir. Thank you.